Hey everybody, this is Dan Walls for Warriors. Today I have an Army veteran, Michael Paul, and what we're going to do today is discuss his service and talk about the time that he spent in the service and when he got home. And we wanted to see what he'd like to share with us. So, Michael, if you want to give us a little background on yourself and what you'd like to talk about.
My name's Michael Paul. I'm a United States Army veteran. I served in Iraq in 2003 to 2005. Um, Recovering addict, been homeless, divorcee, lost my family, lost my home. Same rundown.
Well, I appreciate that, Mike. Um, I just have some questions on service and what you've gone through when you got back home and some of the situation that you're in and how you became homeless and how you achieved your goals after that. So let's get going with the first question here. What was it like when you came home from Iraq?
Man, it was kind of surreal. We were getting ready to come home. It was kind of playing the hurry up and wait game. Our CO had signed for a bunch of equipment that we didn't know where it was located, so we had to drive all over Iraq to look for this equipment. So building up to coming home was really, we was all excited. We'd been in hell for 18 months, and it was time for a break.
Did you feel prepared for civilian life when you got home?
I thought I was at first. Um, it was different. You didn't have the structure that you had. Um, I didn't really have necessarily anything to really do. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I felt stuck when I first came home.
Okay. Was there a support system that was available to you when you first got home?
The VFW, AMVET,
Okay. And was
USO, stuff like that, but nothing real helpful.
when did things change after you got discharged?
After my divorce happened, and I lost my kids, um, that was probably one of the hardest things I went through. At that time, I'd started drinking real heavily. Um, had a real bad temper. You didn't know what I was going to do next. You know what I mean? I was so unpredictable. You couldn't take me anywhere. I acted out of anger all the time. So
Yeah.
I don't blame the people that left, but that was the hardest thing I dealt with when I came home.
Were you struggling at all with isolation, um, like PTSD or depression? You mentioned
Well,
anger issues that you had.
well, at the time, I didn't even know PTSD was a thing. I just knew that I felt angry all the time. I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. Um, it was hard for me to go out and just relax and have time with my family. Um, I was on edge all the time, just looking over my shoulder, feeling like, you know, somebody was always out to get me.
How did it feel when substance abuse became part of your life?
It worked till it didn't. It worked till it didn't. In the beginning, it was just a weekend thing. You know what I mean? I had gotten into bull riding. I was doing a lot of things to cause self harm that I didn't realize that I was actually doing. But I was doing things to cause self harm, not just drugs. Um, but that's when the drugs started. Was whenever I started riding bulls.
Okay. Where were some of the warning signs that were telling you things were getting worse?
People kept telling me that my temper was getting worse, that I was getting too unpredictable. Like I'd call my buddies and say, "Hey man, you want to go hang out or something?" And there was always some excuse. Um, but a couple of my closer buddies was like, "Man, you're just too unpredictable right now." And I didn't want to accept that.
So did
I
you
felt
find
like it
it?
was them and not me. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
felt like nobody just people didn't understand. And after you go off and you get mad, why you feel this guilt, shame, and remorse afterwards. And I call it the guilt train because it gets bigger as time goes.
So did you feel with the people that you were hanging around with, they started to withdraw from you over that
Oh,
period of
absolutely,
time?
absolutely. They still do. They still do.
And you mentioned in one of our conversations a while back, you talked about homelessness and how that became a problem for yourself. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. Um,
Could you kind of give me an idea of how it started and what brought that on?
well, I wasn't comfortable in a home. I felt more comfortable outside or sleeping in a car or in a tent somewhere than in a home. It took me a long time to adjust to sleeping indoors. Um, I don't know why I felt comfortable outside, but I did. I felt comfortable alone. I felt that if I didn't have people around me, I wasn't hurting anybody or causing anybody any pain. So I pushed everybody that mattered away from me.
And how long were you homeless?
Right, probably all together, I want to say probably 3 years that I was homeless and couch surfed and stuff like that.
So when you're talking about couch surfing, you just went from family to family, friend to friend.
Friend to friend, wherever I could find.
Did you spend? Were you able to purchase a room at hotels too to find a place to stay, or is it just mainly couch surfing?
Spent all my money on drugs.
Okay. So what was the daily routine to keep survival?
First thing I did was figure out a way to get high. That was the very first thought as soon as my eyes opened up. How can I get high? Um, as long as I got high that day, nothing else mattered.
Okay.
It didn't. It was just getting that next fix. Once it got a hold of my soul and my spirit, it was over. That was all that mattered. Nobody mattered, not even myself.
So what was the hardest part? Looking back, what was the hardest part of being homeless?
Man, there was so much. Everything I owned, I carried on my back or in a bag, um, and most of that stuff got stolen. A lot of it was my personal stuff that had been handed down from generations. I just didn't have any place safe to put it, and people just catch you asleep or just find out you're down there under the bridge somewhere and they catch you gone. It's, it's a street game, man.
Did you ever feel that it was just a lost cause, that you felt totally hopeless, that there was nothing left?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, there's no worse feeling than feeling worthless. Um, I wasn't contributing to society. I wasn't being a father. I wasn't being a son. I wasn't being anything other than I wanted to hurt me to hurt others because I had been hurt so much. And, it's just that sick addict mentality. You know what I mean? I'll hurt me
Yeah,
to hurt you.
yeah.
And we don't realize, I didn't realize that I was hurting some of the people that I was hurting, some of the people that actually did care about me. Um, and it was hard on them to watch me do this to myself. Um, but there was a lot of prayers and a lot of people that didn't give up on me. You know,
How were you treated in public when somebody first seen you out in the street and they might not have
well,
recognized you or didn't know who
yeah.
you were?
Whenever I first came home, some people would come up to me and tell me welcome home. Some of my buddies got together and threw me a welcome home party, um, and we had a blast. you know. But at that time, they didn't understand the change that had went on in me. They didn't see it yet, you know. And it took a few weeks before it really started showing its ugly face. I just wasn't good at handling life, you know. I wasn't a caring person. I didn't have compassion. I didn't know how to love myself, much less anybody else. So, you know, they didn't understand at the time.
What do you wish people would understand about homelessness?
Not every veteran out there is crazy. You don't have to be afraid to walk up to them and thank them for their service. Um, I had people that would just see me and just see me as a dirty man, a dirty homeless person. You can't tell that they're a veteran by looking at them by the clothes they've got on. Um, you can't see their scars. You can't see their wounds. So a lot of people treated me like a normal homeless old man. You know, they didn't care. They just walk right past you or look the other way. Um, and I never begged for money. I never was one of these homeless that's out here on the corner with a sign that said homeless veteran looking for money or will work for food. I never did none of that. If I didn't eat, I didn't eat. I hunted and I fished for my food, and that's how I survived. Um, it wasn't until the last 3 or 4 months of my homelessness that I had somebody helping take care of me.
That was my next question. Who was the one that helped you with this getting back on track and helped you with, get through this journey?
Well, God sent me an angel. He really did. Um, at the time, I had gotten diagnosed with cancer, and I'd given up on everything. I was still trying to rodeo a little bit, but very little when I could afford it or when I could do a side job or something to get a little money together. Rodeoing was the only thing that really brought me joy at the time. But she would come every day and bring me and my dog a double cheeseburger a day, and that's what me and her survived on. And I was actually on the run. I had gotten busted with a bunch of methamphetamine and stuff, and I'd already set my life up for ruin at that time. And she looked at me and she goes, "Look, it's like this, man. It's either jail or rehab. You can't run forever." And I was like, "Well, I guess I'm just going to have to go to rehab." And it wasn't a hard decision to make,
Oh,
to be honest with you. It was a real easy decision. I'd had enough pain. I'd had enough. I'd had enough of living on the street. I'd had enough of struggling. I'd had enough of not having a vehicle, not having friends, not having nobody. I'd had enough. Some had to give. Either I was going to die or something was going to change. It
so
was
what
one or
were the
the other.
first steps? What were the first steps of rebuilding your life then?
First thing I had to do was admit I had a problem.
Okay.
That was the
And how
first
did
thing
you
that
go?
I had to do.
How'd you go about doing that?
Well, whenever my wife had looked at me and said, "Look, man, it's either jail or rehab," that pretty much told me I had an issue. You know, when them's your only two options, that's it. You know, you got a problem.
Mhm.
You know, so I'm grateful every day that I had chose rehab.
Can you tell me about some of the organizations and some of the treatment programs that you went through, and maybe if you want to share a person or two that might have really helped you um, get find your goals during those programs?
Yeah, man. Everything seemed to happen so fast. It was like once I got clean and God put me on a fast track. In rehab, COVID hit. So they gave us an option. We could either graduate early and go home or be on lockdown at the VA. Ain't none of us wanted to be on lockdown. You know what I mean? So I decided, well, I'm just going to go home. Didn't have a home to go to. But at the time, me and Jessica were dating, and she was coming and seeing me 2 to 3 days a week at the VA in Johnson City. Um, and she really supported me. And when I called her and told her, I said, "Hey, I said, I know that we've only really been dating for a few months." I said, but I need a place to stay. They're giving us an option." And she said, "Absolutely." And we've been together ever since.
Well, that's
After I
great.
got out, I did 90 meetings in 90 days, got a sponsor, worked steps, applied them to my life. I didn't just work them. You have to apply them. Um, and then it was like God put me on fast track again. Next thing I knew, I had to go to jail. You remember, I had a past I had to pay for. So I had to go and spend a little time in jail. Um, and during that time in jail, I was hosting NA meetings. We was having prayer groups. And by the time that I left the jail, the jailers or the bailiffs or whatever they are, the COs, they actually walked me in the door and shook my hand and told me thank you for everything I'd done in their jail, because it had improved a lot of people.
Well, that's great. It's a good story. So, what motivated you when things got a little difficult during your rehab and everything?
I felt like I'd given up enough when I came home. I just basically just rolled over and just didn't have any fight left in me. But once I got clean, and then I got told the good news that I was in remission from my cancer, it was like I got a second win. Um, I had to find a higher power. And once the cancer was gone, I knew who my higher power was. Um, so when times started getting hard, I started talking to my higher power. I started talking to my recovery sponsor. I got me a network of men together that I could call on anytime I needed to have somebody to talk to. Um, you know, took suggestions.
So, just a little bit about if we could talk a little bit about what you're going through right now today. Um, you told me previously that you have a little baby boy, and
Yeah.
with everything that you've gone through over the years, what's it feel like to be a dad, and how's everything going with the little guy?
And he's a miracle. Uh, 3 years ago, I got diagnosed with radiation exposure, and the doctor told me that I had so much radiation in me that we wouldn't be able to have a healthy pregnancy. So me and my wife had sat down that day and we had made our decision that we wasn't going to try anymore. But little did we know at that time she was 3 weeks pregnant. Um, Unfortunately, she passed away when she was 4 months old. Um, and we didn't give up hope, as painful as it was. Um, we kept trying. And then today we've got Brandon, who is 6 months old and is perfectly healthy. Like
Perfect.
there's nothing wrong with him. Charlie was born with birth defects. She was bilateral club-footed. She had gastro issues, slightly autistic. So she had some issues, you know. But God blessed us with a healthy boy. He sure
Well,
did.
that's great. So, Mike, I wanted to run a couple things by you and ask you, looking back now on all the steps that they had to take to get to this point, and looking back at the homeless side of things, I really want to try to stress as much as possible to the veterans out there right now and their families on how important it is to find structure and to find a way to help our homeless veterans. Uh, so, if you could kind of give me an idea now, looking back, what suggest what suggestions can you make to some of these homeless veterans that might be out there right now, living under a bridge? Um, are there areas of them to call to, or call organizations, or what would you recommend if you were to meet somebody right now on the outside?
I mean, man, there's all kinds of organizations out there to help today. Um, we don't have to be homeless unless we choose to be. Now, the biggest thing that I've ran into when I run across a veteran on the streets, a lot of them don't understand or know about any of these organizations. So that's one of the biggest things that one of the biggest hurdles we've been doing is trying to get the information out there. The VA has a great recovery program. And then whenever you get out, you can get a hold of Dan here and go to Walls for Warriors, Wounded Warrior Project. There's all kinds of organizations out there. All you got to do is get on Google, and you can literally Google veteran organizations to help with whatever, and it'll pull up a whole list of stuff. So the help's out there now. The thing is that I've ran into, and I ran into it when I was homeless, is that we're comfortable being homeless. We're comfortable. A lot of them don't want to be off the street. They can't handle, like, okay, yeah, I have PTSD. I have 13 symptoms that come along with my PTSD, not just one symptom. There's 13. And these veterans are out here dealing with the same thing. A lot of it is untreated mental health, but a lot of them don't want to be sedated all the time either. So it's like, what do you do? You know what I mean? What do you do?
Mhm.
Until they reach enough pain that they say, you know what, I can't do this no more. Something's got to change. And that's when you try to help them. Once they get to that point where you're at rock bottom and you can't dig any further, like I dug till I went to China and they sent me back. I just kept digging and digging and digging. And
Mhm.
I feel bad for a lot of these guys that's out here because I know they're paying. Every veteran that I see homeless on the street, I at least try to give them a couple of dollars. I don't give them enough to go out and buy drugs on, by no
Mhm.
means, but I will give them enough to go buy them a bottle of water or a sandwich. Or if they're hungry or thirsty, I'll go buy it for them. I'm not going to contribute to their drug habit. $5 can be an overdose. So just be careful when you're out there helping these guys. If you're going to help them, go buy them what they need. The
Okay.
worst thing that you can do for these guys is to enable their drug habits or their alcohol habits. You could kill them, literally. All it takes is one,
That's
you
good
know.
advice, Mike. That's really good advice. Thank you. So, what would you tell the families of these homeless veterans that are out there right now, the men and women that are having the struggles? What would you suggest a mom or dad or a family member? What should they do to try to help their loved one?
Don't give up. Don't give up on them. There's always hope. The best thing you can do is show them support, show them you love them still, and just keep planting that seed of recovery every time you get around them. Try to plant that seed of recovery. Try to get them to go to rehab. Make sure that they know that option's out there.
Okay. So, just to end our conversation here and end our interview, is there anything specifically that you'd like to share, or anything that you feel that your fellow veteran might want to know? Something that you think that could possibly help them get through their difficult times?
If you don't have a higher power, get one. There's a lot of nights that I spent very, very alone. Um, and I wish that I'd reached out to my higher power because I probably would have got the comfort that I was trying to seek in other things. We look for something to fill that void, that hole that's in us. And when we come back, there's a hole. I don't care what anybody says. There's a hole in you that's just gone. There's a piece of you that dies when you go over there, and you never come back. So you try to fill that hole with everything, man, like drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever, anything to give that instant feel good thing, an instant gratification. Um, you got to realize, us as veterans, we're all adrenaline junkies, every one of us. we got so used to feeling the adrenaline of being over there every day that it's embedded in us. And if you'll seek a higher power, it'll fill that hole. You
Well,
won't have a
Michael,
desire to self
I
harm or cause harm to your family.
I really appreciate your time that you gave me today.
Thank you, Dan.
And I hope that if there's anybody out there right now that needs some help, please contact Walls for Warriors at wallsforwarriors.org or info at Walls for Warriors. Our number is 423 Michael, thank you so much. And I hope that we could do something along these lines very soon.
Thank you, Dan. It was a pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Thank
I
you. You
appreciate it.
take care now. Alrighty.
You too.
Bye bye.
Hey, if you're a veteran in Northeast Tennessee or Southwest Virginia who is struggling with housing, or if you know of a veteran who may need assistance, don't wait until the crisis develops. Reach out to your local veteran service organizations, VA programs, or community nonprofits. Help is available, and asking for assistance isn't a weakness, it's a strength. So I hope that you could touch base with us if you need some help. Go to wallsforwarriors.org. And you could also send us an email at info@wallsforwarriors.org. Thank you. We hope you could help us help our veterans. Please scan the QR code or go to wallsforwarriors.org/donations. We really appreciate your help. Thank you.